Conversion is really about communication, and it's about invoking cooperation. We can't force people to do stuff. We can't manipulate people into doing things. You can't TikTok your way into getting a for sale by owner to stop being mad at real estate agents. Marketing and advertising generates leads. Human beings convert leads. If you're not subtly linking their behavior to an outcome, then you miss the chance to essentially connect yourself to that outcome.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Level Up Podcast with myself, Greg Harrelson. This is where I focus on taking you from agent to entrepreneur. As you know, I have a passion for developing agents. And on today's episode, I'm going to share another quick strategy on how you can increase your production. I'm going to be real, so you be ready. Let's level up.
Matt, I'm not really planning on doing a big introduction here from a podcasting standpoint, because this conversation we're having right here is just a one-on-one on MIDI conversation that I look forward to having with you. But I will say, for those that are fortunate enough to catch this recording, this is my good friend, Matthew Ferry, who I have known for many, many years. And I can contribute so many things, not only in business, but in relationships, personal business. I can contribute to me hanging out and having some rewarding conversations with Matthew. So Matthew, thank you for connecting with me. I'm glad to be with you today.
It's just fun to be reconnected. I mean, I think we've been hanging out together for maybe 30 years. Yeah.
Yeah, how old are you right now? You're
57 now.
You're 57. Okay, so your brother's a little bit younger than you.
Yeah, he's 54.
54. Okay, and I'm 55. And I asked that because if you think about where were we 30 years ago, it's one thing being 55 and 57, but it's another thing being 25 and 27.
Yeah.
It's an interesting journey.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I think one of the things that I always appreciated about what we worked on together was the idea that lead generation doesn't convert leads, and you were always so masterful at lead generation. I always really marveled at your ability to put together systems and advertising, and back then it was like letters and phone calls, and we're like all these different things you were doing to gather leads in, and then you and I just got so focused in on how do we bring the NLP modality and conversational hypnosis to have people open up, be collaborative, and convert. And that to me is that's where the magic is. That's the thing that I'm bringing back to the world now. That's why we reconnected, right? You were looking at some of your journals, and then here I pop up in your news feed.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking at journals. You pop up in my news feed, and I see a little post on an event that you're going to do in Irvine, California in June. And before we get off, I want to make sure you give us dates and information, but it was on NLP. And I'm like, this is amazing, because I was looking at my journal. And just to speak on what you just said, I was looking at my journal. As a matter of fact, I've got it right here. And what I can see, if somebody will zoom in, there's a page right there where it says 2001 recap. And then after that page, there's some information there that I know, Matthew, you were coaching, because this is your coaching content, right? And so we must have been together. And in this journal, it would have been early 2002. I'm writing and looking at my numbers. And in 2001, I set 450 listing appointments. And I took 395 listings, which means I was an 87% ratio. Now, let me back up and say, why am I saying this? Because that surely wasn't to impress you. But prior to that, I was working my tail off, thinking the only way I was going to grow is 50 contacts a day, 70 contacts a day, 120 contacts a day. How am I going to do 200 contacts a day? And then you brought this information to us on, whoa. You don't have to go to 200 contacts every day, which we're not going to go there anyways. What we need to do is we need to focus on conversion. And you really brought to me, conversion is going to come from communication. So
and
tell me,
and collabor and
talk to me about
collaboration.
that, because that's what I take
Yeah.
from you. I like when I tell my
Yes.
friends, "Who's Matthew?" Well, this is what Matthew helped me do. I don't know how the hell he did it, but this is what he helped me do.
You had a lot of natural talent, and that's really, like, we just want to acknowledge that. And you had chutzpah beyond belief. But conversion is really about communication, and it's about invoking cooperation. We can't force people to do stuff. We can't manipulate people into doing things. Even like today, compared to 30 years ago, people are much more aware of selling and how it works. And they have like a lot more protection built up for people trying to sell them. And if you don't know how to utilize NLP or conversational hypnosis to essentially get people to open up, relax, you say, all right, Greg, like, I want to hear what you have to say. Like, if you can't get that, you can't convert. So you can like be the most amazing TikToker, right? You can't like TikTok your way into getting a for sale by owner to stop being mad at real estate agents. You can't do an amazing funnel and have your funnel get the seller to realize that the prices are dropping and that they need to drop their price, right? Like, you actually have to understand how to communicate with people and what their psychology is. If you don't do
Yeah,
that, it's really hard.
yeah, I was just doing some coaching in the companies on price reductions. And it just dawned on me, so many things I actually think I probably invented them, but it's nothing more than an accumulation of like so many experiences I've had. But one of the first things that I said in the coaching was, we got to diffuse them. We got to acknowledge where they are before we even start the conversation. I mean, they're frustrated.
Yeah.
They're losing hope, and they have nobody to turn to, but kind of like put pressure on us and then we turn around and feel the pressure and we get mad at them, right? And then and that's the beginning of the communication, is coming from that place. And and so I like that. We got to settle them down, or just calm them down, create a space for us to have authentic communication.
And so many agents are sales adverse. They actually don't want to be a salesperson. They want to be an advisor. They want to be a counselor. They want to be friends with their clients. And I want you to know, like, all of that is available if you learn how to communicate. But what most agents are missing is that if you don't know how to use adverb presuppositions and tie downs, for example, then your client's going to stay stuck in fear.
Mm-hmm.
And the agent's going to keep losing deals that should have been easy wins, because highly influential people assume rapport. They assume the sale. And when you lead in that way, like, the people you talk to, they're like, there's no convincing, because you're just being the authority.
Mm.
And presuppositions help you to assume authority. Right? So you presupposition, luckily, obviously, naturally, simply, they're LY words. They create a frame for what you're saying. So I might say, Greg, luckily we connected today because 3 homes just came on the market that could be perfect for you and your wife. And I can't wait to show them to you. When should we get together? Would you like to get together tomorrow? Or would you like to, actually have some time today at 5, if that works for you. So this, luckily, even though we're in a market where the buyer might be feeling like, the interest rates and the price are so high and I'm being priced out of the market, but I have to buy. Yeah. When I use the word luckily, what I'm doing is I'm framing the sentence in a way that reduces anxiety. And what happens is, so many people accidentally use language that increases fear and it increases resistance. And if you don't know adverbs, it's really problematic, because you're just basically speaking like your parents spoke and your friends and family speak. And there's a surefire way to agitate most of the people around you, and that is just to be yourself. Like, if you are being yourself, like, then you're being like the people you're used to, but you're not being like them. You're not helping them. You're not being the leader for them.
Yeah, yeah. I just thought of one, an ly word that I'm wondering. I think that we use wrong sometimes in our industry, and I think it's happening a lot right now. Let me give you an example. You tell me what you think. Tell me what this creates in my relationship with my seller. If assuming right now I just got an offer, and I got to call my seller to present it, and then I say, Matthew, unfortunately, the offer is a little bit low. But tell me, so what? Okay, because we know that's a come.
Yeah.
What's going on there, Matthew? What am I creating by doing that?
You're dramatically increasing your resistance with the seller by framing it like there's something bad coming. Whereas instead of unfortunately, if you're more conscious in your communication. So one of the things I'm committed to, as you know, I wrote a book called Creating Sales Velocity, and the subtext was, becoming a conscious salesperson. And really becoming a conscious salesperson means you're aware of your words, you're aware of who you're being, you're aware of how you're showing, you have an awareness, a self-awareness. And so one of the things I'm committed to is helping people realize if you say, unfortunately, you now have framed and created resistance. If you say, fortunately, we got an offer, and I want you to know there are 10 other houses in this neighborhood, no offers. You got one. I want us to look at this seriously, and I want you to realize you are one of the luckiest sellers in this marketplace right now. Yes. Now, all of a sudden, I'm framing it in a way where, it may not be the price you want. In fact, let's be honest, Greg, it's not the price they want. They still wish that it was 2022, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So now the prices are coming down, and they're coming down. Not everywhere. I mean, right now, at the time of this recording, there are 5 or 6 states where we still have multiple offers. But most of the states along the Sun Belt are struggling, and there's a lot of real estate agents who are accidentally framing things in a way that creates more resistance. I want to talk about cause and effect, because human beings believe that we live in a cause and effect world. So if you create causal relationships between things, what you say sounds more true. Now, I just want you to know, if you don't know how to use cause and effect language, then you keep trying to use your own personal rationalizations with their fear, and their fear will always win. Emotion will always win. So if you're not linking the actions that you want them to take to the positive outcomes that they want to get using cause and effect, then what happens is your clients stay locked. They lock down, they dig in, because you created uncertainty. So you have to use cause and effect, right? It's like looking at the comparable properties right now, Greg, allows you to see the reality of this market and price it right. Did you want to sit and hope that one buyer can look at 40 homes that are similar to yours and choose yours for a higher price? Or did you want to actually move to DC for your new job? Which is better for you? Now, that was a couple of things there. That was a cause and effect, and then it was a lesser of two evils. So it was linking two kinds of language patterns. I'm going to be teaching people these language patterns at the actual event, and we're going to be drilling them. We're going to be role playing them. We're just going to kind of get them to sink into our body so that we can immediately, on the brakes, call people and get appointments. Send a text to somebody using a new language and get yourself an appointment. Part of my goal is let's just get a taste of success. Let's feel it. And so me, I love, I used to lead the role playing schools, right? So I
remember faxing sentences to you. Faxing. Now, for all of you listening, I remember faxing you sentences that I'd written every day, Monday through Friday, or else you had a $1,000 check. You had 5 $1,000 checks of mine.
Yeah. Yep. We used to play some we were young, right? So you want to think about it, everybody. We were really young, and we were very aggressive. We were really trying to ramp up our success. And so we would just play games with our nervous system. And so we had penalties and rewards that we would play with. I think that one of the things that I would love for our viewer or our listener to get out of this conversation
Yes.
is that marketing and advertising generates leads. Human beings convert leads.
Mm.
And the human being in a real estate agency business, the human being is the primary mechanism by which commission checks get cashed or not cashed. It's not the market. Right? There are people that are succeeding right now. In fact, I think we had last year, 71% of all agents didn't even do a single deal.
Yeah.
We only had a small drop in the number of deals that didn't occur. It's a very small drop. So we had more agents doing more business. So if our viewer, our listener is going like, well, why am I struggling? And the answer is because of what's coming out of your mouth.
So does that explain why? Does that explain why two people can exist in the same spot, in the same market, in the same minute, and get totally different results?
Yeah.
I mean, there might be other factors, but it's got to be a significant factor.
It's so significant. Action is always important. So action is important, but actions are a part of the conditions that are present. And so you and I used to modify and play with how do we set up structures so that our actions are consistent. But there were literally thousands of people back in the day that I would coach in the Mike Ferry system back in the day. Mm-hmm. And all of those people were very well-meaning, but a giant chunk of them could not get the system to work. They would take the action, but the action didn't produce result.
Yes.
Now, I was getting paid $1,000 a month to coach people. I was one of the top coaches, and it was, frankly, embarrassing to coach people, and they weren't getting results. Mm-hmm. And so what happens that really influenced my entire methodology and the way that I operate. It's like my whole goal in life was to figure out what was it that causes people to get results? And it's really two things, right? So we have, of course, the actions and the circumstances, but you and I both know two people, same circumstances, same actions, different results. And that's because of two things. There's the inner world, what you're saying to yourself, and there's the outer world, what you're saying to others. On the inner world, it's about modifying how you're able to receive your own communication to modify your inner state, your optimism, your joy, your fun, your play, your peace. In the outer world, it's about reducing the resistance that people have naturally and making sure they can receive your communication in such a way that we can collaborate. Because, Greg, I'm saying stuff to you right now that is actually being interpreted completely different than what our viewer or our listener is hearing. So they're hearing one thing, I'm saying one thing, you're hearing another thing.
I'm hearing you.
It's hard.
I'm listening to myself hear you, and I'm actually hearing what other people are saying about what you and I are actually saying. Right. Man, I got a lot of chaos going on here. There's a lot going on right now.
And it happens, right? And I think what is available to all of us is a set of tools. And these tools are very specialized. Like most of the people that teach NLP in the real estate industry are teaching some derivative of what I brought back in the day.
Yeah, I agree.
And they're teaching it through their perspective. And a lot of it is really, really effective. But one of the things that I'm committed to, and you know this, is magic. I just want it to be like, I want to be in sales and just feel like, this is so fun. I can't believe I get to do this. The play, the joy, the strategy, right? It's like, I want to help people bring that back again, because we've just went on the greatest bull run in the history of the real estate market. And that bull run is over. So the wind has been at people's back. And so it's just like, hey, do you want to learn how to communicate? And they're like, what for? Who cares? Right? I was just like, hey, do you want to sell your house for any price that you could possibly imagine? Let's do it. That's over. And so now we're into a market that has challenge. And in this market of challenge, I think you bring play, strategy, fun, exact language patterns. I don't want people walking away from a listing saying like, God, I should have said. Mm-hmm. And they do that. Instead, I want them to say to themselves like, Damn. Did I say that? That was so cool. That's what I'm committed to. I want people to feel.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Hey, so you gave us two. Can you tell me this? What is so important about tie downs? Because tie downs is such a simple communication tool. It's so simple, but I think it's underestimated. The value of it's underestimated because it's just so simple to put a comma, correct question mark on any statement, right? So I think we underestimate the complexity of it because it's too simple. But can you tell what is a tie down and what is the significance to tie downs?
The significance is great. The explanation is simple. A tie down question is going to create certainty and engagement. Don't you agree?
That makes sense. Yeah.
So I just did a tie down question. The tie down question must always be delivered with a downswing. If you do an upswing with a tie down, you create uncertainty. So you create engagement, but you create uncertainty. Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
So when I use an upswing at the end of my sentence, all of a sudden, what I'm doing is I'm communicating that somewhere in here in my inner communication is doubt or question. And then I'm communicating it in my language and I'm creating doubt and question in you. The game that I want to play with people is helping them to feel certain on the inside, confidence. Confidence that when I show up, I'm going to have, like what you talked about before, an 87% conversion rate. I want you to know, like, that's unheard of. Now, for agents that have been in the greatest upswing that we've ever experienced in the real estate world, they think that like, oh, well, if I go on a listing and it's one of my referrals, I'm going to get it. And that was true. But now that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
One, they're not getting as many referral calls. And two, their referrals are like, oh, I don't know, they're a little scared. So they're not just taking the referral, they're also taking the referral and they're talking to a few more people. They're comparing and making sure that they're going with the right agent. That is when you want to start mastering tie-down questions. Mr. Seller, obviously, you invited me over here because you wanted to hear exactly what it was going to take to sell your home. Do you agree with that? It was a tie-down. Yeah. Do you agree with that? Now, I just said, obviously, so I'm framing it, you invited me over to tell you how to get your home sold. I'm saying, you invited me over because you thought I was an authority. Don't you agree? Yes, I do. Bam. Now all of a sudden, I'm getting agreement and I'm stacking agreement over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And my goal when I'm on a presentation is to have Mr. and Mrs. Seller or Mr. and Mrs. Buyer say yes to me either out loud or in their body 30 times, 40 times, 50 times. I want them shaking their head yes. I want to look at them and I want to say, do you agree? I want to be able to use my physiology to my advantage and make sure that they know this is where the authority is. This is where the yes is. I'm anchoring the yes.
You said something, I wrote it down earlier. I'm not even sure if this was before we hit the record button. Conversational hypnosis.
Yeah.
I think that's what you just demonstrated and what you're saying 30 times, 40 times, hearing that, dropping that, I'm going to use a term we haven't talked about it, but embedded commands, right, into their subconscious mind and tying them down and all this conversational hypnosis.
Yeah. And for example, if you're not subtly linking their behavior to an outcome, then you miss the chance to essentially connect yourself to that outcome. I'll give you an example. This is called implied cause and effect language. So you start off by saying something that we're already doing. So as we look at the comps in the market, we're doing that, Greg. You and I, right now, we're going through the comps. So their brain goes, we're doing that. So I get that yes. Then I subtly tie it. You start to realize that your competition is increasing every day. Greg, how many homes have come on the market in the last 30 days in your neighborhood?
30? I mean, maybe 10 more?
Which means That's now direct cause and effect, which means I'm about to tie something together, which means your price is going down every day you don't sell. I mean, you're familiar with the basic concept of supply and demand, right?
Yeah.
See, I'm tying you down, right? And I get you to agree. Now, if there is one house and there's 10 buyers, what happens to the price, Greg?
Well, it could go up if there was 10 buyers. Yeah.
Right? We've been there for like 10 years.
Yeah.
But you know where we are right now, Greg? If there are 10 houses and there's one buyer, what happens to the price of all 10 houses?
I guess it goes down.
So you guess if you have 10 houses, every one of those people wants to sell, but you only have one buyer. What is the only lever you have? Are you going to pick the house up and move it to another location?
No.
Are you going to completely remodel the house and spend $150,000 for it and make your house better?
Not a dollar in it. No way.
That's exactly right. So what is the only lever you have?
I guess adjust the price, be more competitive.
So I'm curious, do you want to list with this other agent who doesn't even seem to understand the market as clearly as you do? Or do you want to list with me, Greg? Someone who wants you to beat the competition, win that buyer, and get you moved to Boise. Which is better for you?
I want to be the next one that sells.
In fact, if you aren't the next one to sell, your family has to stay back here. Now you have to have a rental in Boise while the family stays back here trying to get the home sold. Is that what you want?
No way.
Again, now I'm just riffing, everybody.
Of course, yeah.
But I'm riffing, and this is what I want to teach everybody. I want to teach you how to riff. Of course, should we follow a basic script structure? I believe we should. That's my particular background, is scripting the conversation to make it brilliant. I think that's an amazing thing to do. Many agents resist that. So then what you do is you say, okay, well, what is the most powerful language that I can learn? And then how can I get it ingrained in me in such a way that I can just, bam, off the cuff, do something amazing? Give me an objection. I'll show you what I mean. We're going to use, we're going to use a level shift, cause and effect, double bind. Man, probably lesser of two evils. Let's go level shift, cause and effect, double bind. We're just going to play with it. Give me an objection.
I appreciate what you have to say, but I just don't think I can sell it at the price that you want to list it for.
And man, do I understand that, Greg. I really, really feel the consternation that you're experiencing with the marketplace that we're in. Mm-hmm. And what I'm hearing you say is that you're okay with your children not getting into this new school. Am I hearing that right?
Well, no, I mean, we need to move. I mean, we want to be in that new school. I just don't want to take less.
And I will tell you this, needing to be in the new school and not wanting to take less means you have to get realistic about your price, or you have to put your children in the school next year, the year after. I don't know, Greg's wife, Betty, I don't know what your thought is, but I think we're going to have to choose, like, greed or children. What would you choose, Betty?
Well, no, my kids are going to that school.
Okay, great.
Yeah, we're going to the school. The children
the children come first.
Yes.
The children come first, and I want you to get the most money possible. Can I tell you why?
Yeah, tell me why.
I get paid on percentage. I'm just as greedy as you, Greg.
Yeah, makes sense.
But I want the house to sell, don't you?
Yes.
And if you have 10 houses that you're competing with and one buyer, what lever do you got?
I don't think I have a lot of leverage, not in this market.
I'll market it. You and I price it right. I will negotiate the best possible deal for you. Go ahead and sign here, and let's get it done.
Okay. We can do that.
Again, everybody, I'm just on the fly there. That was a level shift. That was a direct cause and effect. That was a double bind at the end. Then I did another double bind, or a lesser of two evils at the end. And then I just did a close. And so those things just come out of me now. I want to help other people have that level of freedom and play. I want it to feel like when you're in a presentation, you're just playing tennis. Punk, dink, dunk. And when you first start playing tennis, I just want you to know you're not good at it, right? So it's like they hit it over and you're like, "Whoa," or that's going to happen. But over time, if we just keep practicing and playing with new types of words and new types of ideas and new ways of saying things, pretty soon you're literally walking into the presentation like this. And you used to be like this all the time, Greg. Like, I hope they give me an objection.
Yes, I love it.
I hope they give me an objection. It'd be so much more fun if there was a little bit of a fight here.
Yes.
And most agents don't have that experience. Their confidence level isn't high enough because the only tools that they have in communication are how their family talks. Not really powerful.
So, Matthew, when are you teaching this? Because this has been missing in our industry. I mean, there's people that dabble in it. There's some things going on out there.
Yep.
But quite frankly, this has been missing for 15 years, at least 10 years.
Yeah.
And you're bringing it back.
Yeah.
And as soon as I saw some date in June, I think it was, I was like, I immediately looked at my calendar. I said, damn, there's no way I'm not going to go to this. I have to fly out here, fly to Irvine, that means I got to go to John Wayne. And that means it's a little bit difficult at the airport, but I'm going from Myrtle Beach. I'm going. But
Myrtle Beach,
when that is,
Dallas to the Orange
that's
County.
right.
Yep.
That's right. So when is it? Just give us the dates on that, because I want to make sure people know about what you got going on, the opportunity they have to communicate with you.
Absolutely. So I would love for people to join me, and we're going to have, it's called NLP Sales Secrets. And the subtext is turn conversations into commission checks. That's our whole goal. We want to turn conversations into commission checks. It's going to be June 17th and 18th. It's at the Hilton in Irvine, next to the Orange County John Wayne Airport. And the awesome thing is we're running a great special on the price right now. So if people sign up early, you get a smoking hot price. We feed you lunch because we want to actually collaborate and practice at lunch and be together. It's just much more fun that way. So I think you're just going to have a spectacular time if you come and be a part of this. Let's set some appointments while you're there. Let's see if we can close some deals while we're there. Let's see if we can get some price reductions while you're there. Get the buyers to say yes. We're going to be in action tonight. The program. It's going to be really fun.
Yeah, when you say that, I want to put a little emphasis on inaction, because it's basically you're not just going there to watch a seminar. You are a participant.
Yeah.
It's always been very much, I felt like a participant. So you're learning on the spot, leaving, not thinking, well, when I get home, I'm going to really learn this. And you're going to be learning that while you're there. So
it would almost be like if you were a tennis player. I know you are.
Yeah.
If you were a tennis player and you were going to a tennis clinic, you're not going to listen to the person talk about tennis. They're going to go, okay, here's the thing we're going to do. And then you're practicing it. You're trying to assimilate what is being taught. That's always been my style of teaching, assimilation.
Yeah, I've experienced that. And then, you touched on a book, Creating Sales Velocity.
Yeah.
There's been times, and you know this, where you've sent me boxes of those books.
Yes.
And I always run out. I give them to every agent and tell you, but as soon as they ask me questions about how can I, increase my conversion, I just give them, or sales communication, they get that book. Where's the best place to get that book? I'll put a link when I post this. I'm going to put a link to it, but just so for the listeners out there, where
Amazon.
can I get that?
Just Amazon's the best place. Amazon will get it to you ASAP for sure.
Yes.
And to be clear, the Creating Sales Velocity was my thesis work on the internal communication required to powerfully impact your external communication. So it's like the mindset, the frameworks, the how do you essentially converse with yourself so that when you converse with others, it's powerful. So that is Creating Sales Velocity. Then NLP Sales Secrets, the event that we're doing, this is more like the language, the practice. What do you say? How do you close? How do you use a tie down? What is cause and effect? Let's practice it. How do you get rapport? How do you deep dive into the way that people see the world? One of the things that people really blow is that they think that everyone is motivated the same way, and they're not. Some people are motivated by the vision of the future. It's actually excuse me, it's a smaller group. Other people are motivated by avoiding a painful consequence. It's a bigger group. But oftentimes, especially in sales, we're so forward thinking and positivity motivated. I will say that if you are a positive person, I hate to tell you this, but you're probably repelling more people than you're attracting. And I'm a very positive person. Greg is a very positive person, but you have to learn to know your audience and make sure that your bubbly, positive, upbeat, forward-thinking self is reserved for the people that has good energy with. Most people think that positive people are stupid. They think they're too dumb to know how bad the world is. And so you need to understand, and neither is right or wrong. But if you don't know how to adjust, you're losing so many deals, everybody. You're losing business. You're spending $2,000 a month on Zillow leads, and you're literally just flushing it down the toilet.
That's great. That is so fantastic. My recommendation is pick up the book, read it now, and then join us in the event. And believe me, when I say join us, meaning join me, because I'm going to learn. That's what I'm going to do, and just re-engage, Matthew. I'm just so excited. I'm so excited about just, number one, hanging out with you, but just engaging with you. You're just such a Jedi, especially in this conversation. And I love being around it. I know you have a website, because I go on there and look at that too. What's the website that people can go on and just learn more about what you offer?
If they go to MatthewFerry.com and they do /NLP -live, LIVE. So NLP -live, MatthewFerry.com /NLP -live. That will get them there. And then they can always just track me down on my socials. We're advertising the event, and happy to just connect with you and talk to you about what we've got going on.
That's fantastic. Well, man, I could not. Again, this is just what a way to cap off my Friday. I'm on the East Coast. You're on the West. You probably have a few hours left. This is my last event for today. I'm going to go. I'm looking outside at the water. I'm going to go catch me a few fish, in the river, and for the rest of the afternoon. But man, it was great connecting you. Thank you, everybody. You guys can count on one hand how many times I suggest or endorse anybody. You go back for years and count. I tend to not say anything unless I can stand behind it 100%. I just tend not to recommend much because it blows up, but this is not one of those. So please take my guidance on this one. Matthew, thank you so much for being here, and I look forward to connecting with you.
Yeah, thank you for the endorsement. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to your community.
100%, man. 100%. You're welcome.